Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to be diving into how to use Eduphoria to interpret student data effectively. Our goal is to ensure that you feel confident in using benchmark results to guide instruction, interventions, and student support. This is a key step in shifting toward a truly data-driven culture on our campus. So data is not just numbers on a screen. It tells us a story about student learning, what's working, what's not working, where we're going to need to look at adjusting a few things. So by the end of today's session, you will be able to identify trends at the campus, class, and individual levels, pinpoint areas of strength and growth using Eduphoria reports, use data to inform lesson planning and student interventions. Um, so each piece that you see throughout this PowerPoint is going to be a piece of a guide that I put together for you guys. It's a one-page guide, and you will get to see it at the end of the PowerPoint as well. So I'm going to walk you through how to utilize this guide. So we are going to walk through the five key reports that you'll be using in Eduphoria. These reports will help us to move from a really broad view at the campus level, looking at our campus performance, all the way down to specific student needs and, smaller, more intimate view. Of individual students, or just like your student groupings. So we are going to look initially at the campus summary report, and this report is going to give us a big picture of how our students performed overall. So this is kind of the top, our starting point, the overall big picture. It shows the percentage of students within our campus that are at the approaches, the meets, and the master's levels. And we are going to use this report to identify grade level trends and set our campus-wide goals. So we are going to use this report a lot, in our campus-wide PLCs and professional developments, in a lot of our discussions. And then we are going to reel it in, bring it to a class summary report. Here we are going to see some of that class level data. It's going to allow teachers to compare their student performance to campus averages as well as to each other's. So, if you notice one teacher is doing something that is really assisting, really helping her students to meet a higher level, then you guys want to be able to talk about that amongst yourselves, and being able to pull your own class summary reports. So it will allow you to do that and to collaborate based on those results. So class summary reports are also going to help us determine if there are any gaps that exist across those multiple classes, or if specific instructional strategies might need adjusting. So this one, is going to be probably your most important to bring to your grade level PLC meetings. We also are going to be able to pull a student an SE summary report. The the report breaks down. I'm sorry, SE performance report. This report breaks down student performance by standards, SE. It's useful for pinpointing which concepts students struggle with the most, and teachers use this report to adjust lesson planning and to plan for their teaching. The next report will be the item analysis report, which is going to show just a question by question breakdown of student responses. We can analyze common errors that are made and determine whether issues stem from misconceptions or test question structures, or just, try to figure out where that breakdown is really happening. And so finally we get to those individual student reports. So remember, we started Canvas, we brought it down to class. Then we went to SE, those student performance, student expectations. and then our item analysis, and finally we're at the individual student reports. So these reports are going to give us a detailed look at each student's strengths and weaknesses. It is really essential for planning targeted interventions and differentiating instruction to each particular student. Like I previously mentioned, this is all going to go into a one-page guide for you guys. So the pictures posted are what the guides look like, and you're welcome to read that word for word, but my overview is essentially what they're all summarizing. So if you have any questions, be sure to let me know. So now that we have reviewed the reports, and you kind of know, where I'm coming from with those 5 different key reports, let's talk about how we are going to use them in practice. Just a little more depth than before. So here's the process we're going to follow. Again, this is on your guide, and I'm not going to go over these word for word. I'm going to go off in a little bit more into depth. So our big picture analysis, which is that campus summary report, is somewhere we're going to start broad. We are going to look at the overall campus trends. We are going to figure out if scores are improving, and identify what kind of major patterns that we see, so that as a campus we can use those in our campus planning and for our campus goals. Your classroom level analysis is going to be that next, zoom in. The class summary report is going to be that next step, the zoom in. And we're going to be able to see how your class compares to others. Are there significant gaps between classes? How can you, assist each other with those? What are some maybe professional developments we need to look at for your individual needs as well? And then the analyzation of standards, we're going to look at our standards-based analysis, the SE performance and item analysis reports. We are going to be able to tell which standards were mastered, which are going to need reteaching. Are students, missing the same types of questions across multiple tests, that type of thing. So by being able, or with the ability to do that, we'll be able to identify those gaps in each specific skill across, grade levels and across subject areas. And finally, we get to the individual student focus, those individual student reports, the team collaboration. You will get to see who specifically needs what interventions, who's ready for that acceleration. I know that that's a population that often, gets a little left behind because we're so busy trying to catch up, or the students who aren't quite at those meeting expectation, where their peers are. So I think it's really important for us to look at the other end of it and figure out who of our students are ready for acceleration as well. And we'll be able to utilize this data to group students for some of the small group instruction, and to figure out who needs, some interventions, maybe some individual interventions, or those accelerated, pieces as well. And that actually kind of leads us into our activity for this afternoon. We are going to break into our teams and conduct a data dig. So you guys are going to go into your Eduphoria accounts, and you're going to use your real benchmark results and make sure that you pull, I gave you guys the campus reports, so make sure that you pull those class summary reports, the student performance reports, you make sure you look at the item analysis and the individual students as well. So your job is going to be to use these reports to create a targeted plan for reteaching and intervention. And that can be something that you guys do, across your grade level teams, and you guys work on that together. But I do also want everybody to come up with that, individual goal and figure out what you specifically are needing to plan for your class. And then after your group PLC has completed that, then I also want you to begin looking into those individual students that you have, or if you are part of a team, please get with your partner teacher and look at those individual students so that you guys can determine what those specific students are needing the most. So yeah, pull their detailed performance reports. Look again at the students who have a lot of strengths. Please don't forget them. Make sure you target them and you make an individual plan for them as well, so that we can keep providing that rigor and giving them the education that they deserve. And then also looking at our students who aren't quite at those standards that we are setting for them, and that the test is measuring them at. So make sure you plan for those students as well, and individualize for them as much as you can. That is probably going to be a more important thing to review with your partner teacher, just so that you guys can kind of complement each other in doing that, cross-curricularly. And then for those students who are working at more advanced levels, make sure that you are communicating with your partner teacher with that. But if you notice that they are overly successful in one area, and that area is what you teach, then you're probably going to be the main point person when it comes to determining the plan for those students. So just please don't forget to consider them. So before we move on to our team planning session, just a really quick recap. Data helps us understand student needs and adjust instruction accordingly. And that data that we pull from Eduphoria is going to provide very clear reports at the same campus, at the campus, the class, and the individual students' levels. Our job is to take that data, turn it into action through effective lesson planning and interventions, whether that be as a campus, as a grade level or subject level team, partner team, or just independently. This is the guide that I laid out for you, and we kind of, reviewed every section of it together, not word for word, but hopefully it's a layout that you're comfortable with, and that kind of reminds you of our discussion today. Please feel free to reach out to myself or another administrator if you do need any further assistance in running those reports and interpreting data, applying what you've learned today. I know that, I would rather help you up front than you be or feel lost and have to kind of go searching for it elsewhere. So please come by. I don't mind assisting. I don't mind walking through the steps to pull each reports with you again. I know it's difficult to sit through it as a large group and get information that you're supposed to turn into action. So if you have any more questions, or you just need to see it, done again, or don't understand something that we talked about today, please stop into my office, stop into the assistant principal's office. We've all collaborated on this before we presented it to you. So please don't hesitate to reach out. You can also just call me, if you have a quick question. I'm not always in my office, so if you don't get me, feel free to, call again later, leave a message, or just shoot me an email. I will get back to you in a timely manner, I promise. So thank you all for your attention today, and I look forward to the plans that you create and to seeing, what comes out of your data interpretations at both, the team levels and individually and independently, and how our students use those to succeed. Thanks.